Hey, all you cats and kittens, this is Zach coming at you. The episode and review that you're about to hear on the Great Debate 109, which we're very proud of, as we are, and this might surprise you, proud of all of the episodes we put out. Unfortunately, however, we had some issues during the recording of this episode with connection and background noise. I've done my best to clean it up and edit around that, but you will be hearing some additional voices and sounds throughout the episode. I think if you're willing to look past that, you'll really enjoy what you hear. So suck it up. Now you know it's coming, so you won't be surprised by it. Okay, now that I've set your expectations a little more properly, now you might be in the right headspace to enjoy our show. Let's do this. Hi, before we get started with the episode, we just wanted to point you in the direction of the social accounts we've set up for the show to help you guys engage with us and communicate and get involved with our show.
You can email us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com.
Emailing us will really be the best way to talk to us directly and conversate with us on air during the show.
Also, be sure to like You Can't Disappoint a Podcast on Facebook.
And you can also follow us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter at You Can't Disapod. That's disapod like disappoint. So there's one S and two P's. Well, thanks for tuning in, and let's kick off the episode.
Here we go.
And just 10 minutes ago, a bald, bespectacled man held the door for a man in a wheelchair. Oh. Man is good!
Oh, I hate this guy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show.
In 1942,
What?
there was a man named Frederick Johansson.
What?
You don't know the name,
No.
but in 2 hours and 17 minutes, my friend, you certainly will. Hi, I'm Steven, and welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. And this is a very special episode.
Oh, shit. This isn't in my notes at all.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is this next week's show?
I hope so. Now no one will listen next week.
I know. Hey, everybody, welcome.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Zach, a barrel-chested man with just enough tummy to love.
And I'm Steven, and I've had a soul patch accidentally.
Welcome to the show, guys. Episode 9, Debate 109. We're here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
Another week. I did too. Man, this one holds up so well.
Absolutely. I was really hyped for this, especially after the watch-a-thon that we did with Communities and the rest of our gang.
Yes, quick, shout out, Communities. Follow them. Thank you for listening to us on their behalf. COMMUNIESS. They're cool. The end. Go ahead.
And it lived up. There was one moment where it kind of caught me off guard because I laughed just out loud, so loud, and it was great.
Yeah, there are a ton of lines that are in my arson of community lines to whip out that were in this episode without me knowing it, like a ton.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so how are you, buddy?
I'm
What's
doing
up?
pretty well. I successfully used a power drill last night.
For the first time?
No, almost, but not quite.
Yeah, I don't think I could go near anything like that at all.
Yeah, I was telling somebody I don't really know anything about tools. I just kind of have bought some and now I'm just guessing. So, yeah.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, and I'm sure this won't surprise anyone, I'm a theater kid, and being involved in community theater, after the last performance on the last day, they have set strike, and everyone's supposed to stay and help tear down the set, and they're tools and stuff, and I'm always like, I do these things because I don't do stuff like that.
Yeah. It's I was in marching band and show choir, and there's some tear down with that too. And I was always in the loading crew because I was one of the only people who wanted to move the stuff. Not wanted, but would move the stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely not a crowd who you think, plans on doing a lot of manual labor.
For something like marching band that is surprisingly laborious.
Oh, yeah.
Same with show choir. That just made me think of... Me and Steven were in show choir together in high school because we're super cool.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember for whatever reason, our choir, we always did lifted risers to where we'd bring... So at the show choir competitions, there are sets of risers to perform on. And our show setup would have extra risers that we brought, and in like a timed, like really quick period of time had to add extra risers and like bolt them down to the risers, and oh god,
it was,
that was
literally
awful.
like we were a pit crew, like like a pit stop team,
and then we
like,
had to sing and dance for 25 minutes.
Like we would literally come like
and then tear it down
in on the stage, like fastening things and getting straps on, and
still
then
putting your clothes on,
sparkly clothes on.
Yeah,
it was outrageous.
Totally. Yeah, man, and the lifted risers totally added nothing to it at all.
No, it made it visually confusing. But
anyway, that's funny. I haven't thought about that in a long time. I do not miss show choir or high school.
I don't either, and I'm really glad that I don't miss high school.
Okay, so obviously there are things from high school that I think maybe I could go back and do differently, but not bad enough to want to do it. No. You know, they always tell you when you're a kid that, you know, once you're an adult, you're going to wish you were a kid again. But that's not the way at all. There are some responsibilities that are annoying, but I'd rather deal with that than be a kid again.
Yeah, I'm cool. You know, as awful as 2020 is, I'm fine. Like you know, being my age, like I don't want to go back and be like, oh, I wish I could, you know, live through this part of high school again. Like, no, I mean, I appreciate it for what it was. But in the words of Sean Jay-Z Carter, on to the next one. On to the next.
Another one.
DJ Khaled.
All right, so this week we are talking about Debate 109. It originally aired on November 12th, 2009, directed by Joe Russo and written by Tim Hobart, all names we've heard before at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a total classic. We have an email as well. This is from Matt. He says, best Abed version of a member of the study group. He says, that's my main question to you. Have a great one, guys.
Oh, I like that.
You know, it's hard to say that because we only get a wisp of them.
It's true. I gotta go with Troy because he looks like Coolio, and it makes me laugh every time that he looks like Coolio.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Troy too because it totally feels like Abed just went and grabbed one of the other, like, 3 black guys that goes to Greendale who looks and sounds and acts nothing like Troy.
Oh, it's so good. But for me, Pierce is a close second because he does a pretty spot-on job. Whereas, like, the Troy is very clearly not Troy. Pierce is pretty close.
Early fun fact, during the commentary I learned that the fake Pierce is Chevy Chase's real life, like, stand-in. For stunts.
Serious?
And he's been Chevy Chase's stand-in for, like, at that point, like 20, 30 years. So they've worked together like that for a long time.
That's crazy. You know what that reminds me of? And we're not going to dive into this right this second.
Okay, we might.
Bill Gates impersonator.
Oh, yeah, Nathan For You.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to a really great show that's it gets its love, but is probably still underrated. Check that out if you need something to watch.
I saw a meme that somebody said that 2020 seems like an episode of Nathan For You gone wrong.
I love that show. I miss that show.
It's really good.
Yeah. Trivia. Yeah.
Trivia.
Have we covered all the bases? Is there any other housekeeping we need to do?
Let's roll. Okay, I had a little bit of trouble with trivia for this one. I'm not gonna lie.
I did too, just because I was really watching it. This one's really good.
I was too, and I
was laughing too hard.
Yeah, and I was like, everything's so memorable. Like nothing's like a trivia question, but I did my best.
I have 3 and like a bonus.
Okay, then you go first.
Okay. On the banner above the stage when they're debating, it lists what division they are in. What division were they in?
They're Division 3, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, nice. Ooh. I did take a little bit. I did see that at one point today. That's good. That was a good question.
I had to dig a little bit too. I was looking at the background, like, what can I write down?
Right? Okay, my question. First question. Why does Shirley suggest that Britta starts smoking again?
Is it more specific than it was just a general that she is mean when she's not smoking?
It is more specific, yes.
It's like a specific line?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That's okay. It was kind of tough to pick out because it was like kind of in the mix of other people saying things, but Shirley's was kind of the loudest.
What was it?
It was, it'll help you lose weight and your skin looks really great when you do smoke.
Oh, yeah. I did hear that. Okay. What is the difference in life expectancy of a man in a community, as we learned in Jeremy's speech?
Ooh, I think, is it 23 years?
Yes, it is. Exactly as old as I am. Are you 23 as well?
I am 23 now as well.
Yeah.
It's our Jordan year.
I don't get it. Was that a good year for Michael Jordan? Is that
his jersey number is 23?
Oh my God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing that wasn't a trivia question.
Oh, I can't wait till we get a real sportsy episode that I can
Lay one on me.
Okay, how does Britta make Troy cry?
I don't remember the specific insults, but they were about his feet being long and stupid.
That's exactly what it was. That they were long and stupid.
That was a really great. We'll talk about it in the episode. That was a really great thing to start a scene with, them walking and having that conversation. That was funny.
So good.
In Troy and Abed's in tag when they're recreating the Spanish rap, what take were they on?
Oh my gosh. Okay, my third question is about that as well, and this was almost my question, but it was not.
Okay.
I believe it was take 36.
Yes, sir. What's yours?
Nice. Okay. In the closing tag, what advice does Abed give the fake Troy and Abed?
What is he? It says just have fun with it.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
My bonus question, and it's a question to everyone, write in your opinion to us. Man, good or evil?
Okay, so I wasn't sure if we were going to get into this.
I'm going
to say
we have to.
Yeah. Are we okay? Just as a light point answer to this before we dive into the episode.
Yes.
I would say that my viewpoint on it lies closest with the quote that Simmons gives before his final actual speech, at the last debate.
What was it?
Where he says that we cannot blame the snow for being soiled by the earth.
That's a good point.
With good intent. I think that man starts without really ill intent, but I think that we're given a lot of choices early on. And we see people around us make a lot of choices early on that can influence kind of our path that we take.
We are all kind of born a blank slate, and what we're presented does inform who we become a lot. I have the feeling I'm a little bit more pessimistic, where I totally agree with you, but I think there really is no exact good or evil. I think everyone does plenty of both. I think everyone, to a good extent, sees themselves as the good guy in their own story. And I also think each of us, if we looked hard enough, could probably be the villain in someone else's story.
Absolutely. I had some conversations with someone this week about kind of perspective and perception of some things that we all do, and kind of how even if something to you isn't a big deal, a little comment, a little thing, to someone else it could have a major impact, or an action that you did because of something that somebody went through can mean a lot more to them than it did to you. And it can be unintentional, but it's all kind of how you perceive things and how other people perceive what you're doing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. With all the awful stuff that's been happening this year, the one thing that's been a glowing positive are these difficult conversations that we're finally being expected and told to have, and you can strike them up with just about anybody, and I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
They're not always positive, but I still think it's awesome.
Woo.
Anything else to talk about? Are you ready to hop into this boy?
Blue skidoo. We can too. Let's do it.
All right. So yeah, it opens up with Pierce telling a joke. We only get a little wisp of it. I'm not sure exactly what he was going for. Everyone seems really concerned.
Right. It kind of reminds me of in Austin Powers and Goldmember when they're telling the joke and it ends with, and she shat on a turtle.
I've been thinking the last couple days, honestly, I've been having an inkling to watch the Austin Powers movies again.
I'm a fan.
It's been a while. They're nothing special, but they're very funny. And they're very funny. A lot of the things from that era that were funny don't really hold up now, but that's a really great just turn off your brain, and it's silly.
I think that I quote a lot of things from a lot of things, but I quote a lot of things from Austin Powers, specifically fat bastard lines.
One of my favorite, I don't know why it is, but one of my favorite jokes ever is in, I think, the first one, when Austin is walking into a bathroom in a casino, and he's been following this guy, and there's a bathroom attendant, and he's blind and has like darkened glasses on. And Austin, as he's coming in all sly, says, "You didn't happen to see anything, did you?" He realizes who he's talking to halfway through it.
When I was a kid, I used to say, "Nice to meet you," every like 10 minutes, I swear.
Mole, mole, mole.
Mole, mole. That
Chop
one
it up
in
and make
Faja, Faja,
guacamole.
Faja, can you hear me? I still bust that one out a little too often.
I feel like you sang Daddy Wasn't There in one of our podcasts.
I think I tried to sing Daddy Wasn't There like 3 times. I think I may have started it several times.
There's some good
last
songs
episode.
in the Austin Powers films where we thought we were starting the episode of Community. There are a lot of good original songs in the Austin Powers films. And everyone goes with Daddy Wasn't There, but I think the best one is, I think, from the first one, where it's like BBC 1, BBC 2. Do you remember that one?
I do. That one's good. I'm a Daddy Wasn't There fan.
Yeah,
but I
it's great.
Also like
Daddy Wasn't That Piece.
but I like also the usage of I'm gonna kick myself in the face for not remembering what this is called. Can we stop for 1 second so I can find the name of it?
Yeah, but I might still use this to make fun of you, depending on where this goes.
Okay. There's a Quincy Jones song. It's a samba that he uses in Goldmember, and it's one of my favorites, and it's really, really great. And they play it for that whole like intro scene where him like running through like the set where it's like a movie.
That's not just that's in all of them. That's like the theme song to the film franchise. Every single one of them starts with something like that.
That's true. That's true. But I really like when they do it in Goldmember the best.
Yeah, I like all the movie stars like as the Austin Powers characters too.
Yeah, those are good.
My favorite thing about this Pierce joke that he's telling isn't really anything that Pierce is saying, but I really like when he says, "Stop me if you heard this one." And Jeff says,
"Would have been nice to have that option 27 minutes ago."
Right, and Britta's just sitting there looking pissed.
Building up to this punchline for near half hour.
Which is such a Pierce thing to do because you know he's probably stopped and started like several times.
The dean's announcements come on. They mention the debate team. Annie is excited. They make it clear that Annie is a part of it without saying anything, so that's cool. Mm-hmm. And Pierce is like, "Great, now I got to start the whole joke over again." And Britta loses it at him.
My favorite part of that part is when Britta like goes off and Shirley like is trying to like support Britta's joke, and she's like, "Oh."
Then she's like, "I don't get it."
Yeah, she tried her best.
I like Britta's gonna crush his windpipe with her 3-ring binder.
Gosh, she's really missing her cigarettes.
Britta yells at Jeff then when Jeff tries to calm her down, and she calls his face pointy, which it is a little pointy.
It's a little pointy, but she was really, I mean, she was trying to take a dig at Jeff there because she knows how vain he is.
Jeff has a good line delivery, the way he says like, "Britta, I'm saying this because I care about you and you're my friend, but I think you should start smoking again." And everyone in the room is also like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was funny.
I think this is a pretty decent Jeff episode. I'll throw that out there. There are a couple of really cringy things that he does, but he like fails a lot in this episode like the show does that intentionally. And I think the cringy stuff that he does, everyone's like, "Ugh, you're being kind of cringy, dude."
Yeah, I agree. I like Jeff quite a bit more in this episode than I have so far this season, for sure.
There's always that theme of him kind of going through some growth in each episode. And the growth in this episode is really subtle and I think really well done.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is them doing some of the better, like, season 1 growing of the characters.
Of a lot of the characters, this is one of the first episodes that doesn't feel like they're setting things up anymore. It doesn't feel like establishing. It just feels like we're in it now.
Yeah, and I like that. Like, everybody is, like, doing stuff in support of one another, but they're still all doing their own thing, which I like.
We're still not to the show at its zaniest. Season 2 is really where that comes through, where the show almost becomes like a cartoon, kind of.
Yeah.
But this one's pretty silly. Kind of lower key than like the paintball episode or the chicken fingers episode or the Halloween episode, but it kind of is close to those.
It is, right? Because, I mean, it's making the intensity of a community college Division III debate match.
Did you ever do anything like debate team?
Did we have a debate team? Because I feel like I wanted to do debate team.
I feel like there was something like it, and I knew people who were in it, and I don't think it was called that. And I was kind of interested, but I never really heard anything.
Yeah,
I feel like we could have crushed it.
Oh, yeah. I think we would have been awesome at that. We would be a pretty damn good dynamic duo and debate team until we started arguing with each other. But until then, we'd be like, I was going to say the great debaters, but...
I don't think we've ever had a conversation without arguing with each other. I don't think we'd be as good of it. I think we'd be good at it.
I disagree. I think we've had lots of conversations.
You son of a bitch. If anything, this podcast has shown that we do not work well as a duo.
No.
They're talking about Britta quitting smoking, and Pierce brings up, have you thought about hypnotherapy? Which is totally a thing that Pierce would be into and like trying to learn how to do. And Jeff goes like, I bet you he's gonna say it's him. Like, his name is Pierce Hawthorne, and I'm very effective. Jeff is like, can I block out annoying voices? And Pierce just giggles like a little kid's like, Jeff, she's right there.
I love it when Pierce thinks that he's like, he gets so excited when he's in on a joke, but he is never correctly in on the joke.
This has to happen to set up their storyline for this episode, which I think is really good, but it is a little quick for Britta to go from jumping on Pierce's neck to feeling like such a friend that she needs to do what he's offering to do.
Yeah, I agree. She like instantly isn't mad anymore, which I feel like when you quit cigarettes, it's less like mood swings and more just being pissed.
You're pissed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that I've never had to go through that where I've like had an addiction or a dependency that I've had to starve off. I'm sure it's awful.
Not fun, I'm sure.
I've certainly seen people, try and fail to quit.
Yeah.
So good on Britta. I don't think I think she does smoke a little bit more through the series.
Yeah, anyway, a few more times.
Britta agrees to let Pierce hypnotherapize her. And Jeff and Britta have like a sidebar and they cover their mouths and whisper. And I like how they shoot it and they act like everybody else isn't still there, just like listening to them or seeing nobody else is talking.
Yeah.
Britta does say, hey, I need to be nice because I just yelled at him. So I guess she feels a little bit bad.
Yeah, that was a funny way to just kind of have them away. But I feel like they do that a lot of times in shows where like two people just like start talking amongst themselves and it's not a thing that affects the rest of the group. Like they don't care.
Right.
Where I feel like that's kind of unrealistic. Like if you're having a conversation.
That doesn't happen in real life, yeah.
No. They'd be like, what the hell are you saying?
Not like I'm ever talking to more than one person and my cat at a time. Troy walks into the study room and man, Troy is on fire this entire episode. And I like how he's setting up Abed's story for this episode, even though Abed doesn't really do a ton within it. I like how the way he leads is, have you seen the film department's website? And Jeff's like, what do you think?
He's like, guys.
Has anyone seen the film department's website other than the film department?
Right, and it appears like the film department is just Abed, so...
Yeah. Everyone gathers around the laptop, and we see the films Abed has been making that are just caricature versions of the study group doing things that they've done, but earlier, like before they happened. That makes it seem like he's telling the future. Yeah, one that we watch is fake Jeff and fake study group. They're confronting him about living in his car, which was just last week's episode.
Mm-hmm. I liked when the fake Britta was like, Jeff, stop being so relaxed. It was good because, Abed is his mystical. He's a shaman.
It also makes me notice they must be on a more steady production cycle now, to where the episodes are coming out in the right order, since they're referencing just last week's episode,
which is good, and also a little meta.
Yeah, with sitcoms, you don't expect it to be like, oh, remember what happened last week, but it's a nice touch when it feels like what happens carries over a little bit.
Yeah.
I heard on the commentary, so before Community, Dan Harmon had a online sketch website that had some traction called Channel 101, and a lot of the people in the fake study group were people who were involved with that stuff.
The only person in it that looked familiar to me was the Shirley.
I don't know that I really recognize any of them. And then, of course, fake Pierce wasn't in the comedy group. That's Chevy Chase's stand.
That's cool, though. I like that he's got his buddies in it.
Everyone's watching the video, and they're like, oh, he's making videos about what happened. And Troy says, no, this came out 2 weeks ago, and that happened 1 week ago. Another classic Troy line.
This is wrinkling my brain.
This is wrinkling my brain.
That's wrinkling my brain.
That's one that I feel like I use a fair amount, that my brain is being wrinkled.
So they're all talking about the movie, and everyone's like realizing that it's about them, and the Abed is copying them, and Pierce just goes, "Who's that old guy?" Says, "Hi, I'm Pierce Hawthorne." Like, oh,
That was such a great like finish to the open.
he probably thought Jeff was him. The fake Jeff was him.
Oh, absolutely, because he was the cool guy who walked in the room and everyone talked to.
So now we're in the hallway, and Annie, Professor Whitman returning, John Michael Higgins.
Heyo.
It was very positive to see him again, and Dean Pelton all like mob Jeff because they're trying to get him in on the debate team. There's some really funny lines in this. The Dean and Professor Whitman throughout the episode don't get to do a lot, but when they do talk, it's some of their really funnier lines too.
Yeah, my like biggest downside of this episode was I just wanted more John Michael Higgins than I got.
I
feel
agree.
like he really did not have a whole lot, and the rest of the episode was great, but I just wanted more.
With this whole series, he was in 4 episodes this season. I don't think he was in it anymore after this season. I could be wrong.
Well, did you catch the soup reference in there?
That's a really funny line because Whitman says,
Jeffrey, as debate coach, I am offering you an opportunity to spend the night drinking from the cup of life rather than romancing your nether regions in front of the E channel.
it's a total piss take of Joel saying that he like jerks it, watching himself on the soup.
So that was pretty stinking funny.
That is really funny, and I bet Joel was. I bet he would think that's really funny too.
Yeah, he was probably a pretty good sport about it. You also get a great after Jeff, of course, is like, no, not happening. Yeah, I like when the dean like gets really mad at him. It's like, listen, jerkwad, and then apologizes right away. He's like, oh wait, I'm sorry.
It's also really funny right before that when he's trying to exit the situation and the entire group thwarting him like steps the direction he's faking them out and then still comes the right direction and is in front of them. Greendale needs a win. This is the first real mention of City College.
Yeah.
And the relationship between Greendale and City College.
We don't rock with City College.
I love how generic City College is. That it's literally just called City College, and in the debate stands, all of the people wearing T-shirts just say in black text City College.
I love it.
I do too.
It's a flushed out school.
Let's talk about this for a second. The dean has a joke here that I think is funny. Later on, they show this joke visually, and I think it's not funny. He's talking about how we really need this win.
The best compliment our sports program gets is that our basketball team is really gay. So
I think that's a funny joke. It's like a throwaway joke.
Yeah, you didn't think it was funny later on?
That we see like stereotypical gay people with like mustaches and crop tops and like being bad at basketball.
That's fair. Yeah.
They mentioned it on the commentary, and Dan said that this was an episode that, because of all the work he had to do, that he kind of made himself take a step away from this one and trust everybody else. Mm-hmm. And he said that joke was the one thing that he wasn't crazy about. And they kind of joked around with it on the commentary and said they should have made it where when you see them, they're really good at basketball.
That would have been so much funnier.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have been so much funnier.
That's not until later in the episode, but I laughed at the joke when the dean says it in the beginning, and then no, I didn't really think it was funny later in the episode. It's not overly offensive, but it's a little.
Yeah.
So the dean is going to do anything to get Jeff on this debate team. Parking space, free meals, and then we get our first overtly sexual, the dean really showing how he feels about Jeff when he's like a night of pleasure.
A night of companionship.
Oh, man. Poor Dean. He must be a lonely guy. But I guess we don't know what the dean's doing when he's at home. He might be getting it.
He might. I could see the dean being married.
That's interesting.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Jeff agrees to do it just to make sure that the dean won't say what he meant. Then we cut to Pierce and Britta in like a music auxiliary room. Pierce is trying to hypnotize her. I think this scene is really funny too. I think all 3 of the plots this episode are pretty good.
I do too. I think it's hilarious that he's sitting there with a basic hypnosis book in his hands.
Obviously reading it for the first time as he's trying to do it. You know that he had no interest in this until Britta said it, and he was like, well, I could probably do that.
Yeah. Pierce, he is always willing to volunteer to help.
Yeah,
that's kind of always
Britta
his plot. Is something's he's like, oh, I can do that.
He's like, I'm great at that. Britta's like what, are you going to dangle a pocket watch in front of my face and tell me I'm getting very sleepy? And Pierce, like, puts the pocket watch away and is like, I was just checking the time.
That was a really funny joke.
Oh, man. Because, of course, he didn't know anything about it, so that's probably exactly what he was going to do.
Yep.
He's like, I'll get a book, I'll get a pocket watch.
I'll be good to go.
Close your eyes, keep them closed, listen to my voice, and the secret word to wake up is gorilla. What do you think? Let's debate about this. Okay, I've never been hypnotized or tried to use hypnotherapy for anything. I don't really know anybody that has. What do you think? Do you think it's real?
I've never been hypnotized or anything. I think there's some science behind some of it.
Well, there's gotta be.
I buy a lot of it. I've seen some videos where they hypnotize like the whole like football team or something on the stage and stuff.
What?
Yeah.
For
like
why?
a lot of like college football teams will like as like a team building exercise, they'll like bring in like a hypnotist and like 10 of them will get up on the stage and he'll like hypnotize them and stuff, and it's always really funny.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've definitely seen it on like talent shows and stuff, but I don't know. I guess I've never experienced it, so I can't help but be a little skeptical.
Listen, I'm not letting anybody hypnotize me.
I'd be interested to let it happen under the right circumstances because I feel pretty firmly that it wouldn't happen to me. So I'd kind of like to be proved wrong.
I'll come hypnotize you. I know a great hypnotherapist.
10-1, I bet he's going to say it's him. All the shots of Britta calmly reacting with her face to what Pierce is saying while she's pretending to be asleep are really funny. It fades to a little bit later. He is swinging the pocket watch. He's saying, you'll associate smoking with things that disgust you, which I think is a pretty common. I think that's really what they do.
Yeah.
But the stuff he says, he's like,
bad tasting food, sex with men, wearing attractive clothing.
Yeah, that was funny. The running joke of him thinking Britta is a lesbian, or calling Britta a lesbian more so.
The thing that Pierce hits on like every woman, or is like attracted to every woman, but wants nothing to do with Britta, is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's
Pierce
hilarious.
was on board the let's hate on Britta train before everybody else was.
Brittles.
So then we get our first Pierce pratfall where he just dives into the drums and saxophones and trumpets.
Once again scorned by musical instruments, Pierce Hawthorne.
Not to call you out, because I think last week you were talking about a situation where Pierce had tripped in the series earlier, and I think you were talking about this one that we watched during the rewatch.
I was talking about this one. I had forgotten when in time it took place.
I think the viewers demand an apology.
To, first of all, the American people. I have not served the office that I...
Okay, we're here for a reason. Pierce wiped out, and it was really funny. Pierce did that pratfall. And Chevy Chase did that himself. They said that he's all about doing a pratfall.
Wait,
in this one, I think when they filmed it, he wasn't supposed to fall. He just did it. And there's a blooper out there of Gillian reacting, thinking that Chevy just like tanked.
I would like to see that.
You could look it up. If you look up I don't know if it's on the blooper reel or it's out there somewhere.
I'm sure it's on the YouTube.
Britta's so clinging to making Pierce think that he can do this that she's not willing to wake up. And Pierce is like, damn my talent.
that is one of my favorite lines in the whole episode.
That's a good one.
Damn my talent.
That's a good one.
That probably got my second hardest laugh.
So now we're in the study room again. It's Jeff in that really weird shirt, but great sock match combo.
Yeah, terrible shirt.
And he's trying to make sure that he's really in this, and he's like, I was a lawyer. I did this for a living. It'll be a breeze. Britta's there as well, and they discuss the hypnotherapy.
He fell down and screamed in pain while I laid there with my eyes closed to make him feel like a good hypnotherapist.
Do you realize this will never end?
It's already done. He just wants one more session.
Wah, wah. Wah, wah. Everyone else walks in other than Abed. Shirley and Troy are really worked up over Abed's films about them. And even to the point that when he walks in the room, they gasp.
He's a witch!
Just to prove their point further, he walks in and is like, I know what you'll say. You watch my movies.
That whole scene is hilarious because Abed, he just plays it up.
Yeah, I also love that Shirley points him and goes, he's a witch! And Troy stands up, defensively to his best friend and is like, let's get him.
Yeah.
And Abed just says really nonchalantly as he's explaining to them, he says, not a witch.
Not a witch.
It's like, I know you guys so well, I can predict your behavior. There's some really great interactions in this. The one with Abed and Shirley is great, where he says you're nice and kind and loving.
Oh, that's nice. I also know you have thinly veiled rage issues. Careful, boy.
Oh. That whole scene is like very, very good. I think that it's great Abed, but also like highlights some stuff about all the characters. It's really funny. Troy crying, Jeff.
Well, he pulls out his laptop and makes everyone watch what he's working on to kind of say what he's doing. He's like, Jeff's character is vain, so it's like the one of Pierce saying, "Oh, I'm top of the class," and Jeff getting mad. Mm-hmm. And they all look at Jeff, who is showing off his sock that matches his shirt and like looking at his nails. They're like, Jeff's vain. Like, oh, okay, I get it. And then it cuts to Troy's character crying, and this is where we get that other great Troy line.
Why am I crying? Would I accidentally listen to Come Sail Away by Styx again?
Which is understandable.
That's an awesome
It's an emotional song.
That's a great foreshadowing. They bring that back in Donald Glover's very last episode in the series.
Yeah, they do.
As cover by Amy Mann, I believe, of that song plays as he's exiting the show.
Nice. Shout out to Amy Mann. That song.
Just come on the show. Amy,
please.
We know you're listening.
One of my favorite TV pilots of all time, Freaks and Geeks, the end of that pilot, they play Come Sail Away by Styx in its entirety, and it's great.
That is a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Abed reassures them, it's just a movie, I can't predict the future. But then it shows he had Pierce in that music room breaking his leg or whatever, and then Pierce, the real Pierce, walks into the study room with the brace or whatever. What would you call that? With
it's a brace,
like
I
a
think.
boot on his leg.
That great line to Jeff about his shirt trying to get out of his pants.
Yeah.
That's
a really funny way to put it. Now we cut to the gymnasium, and it's Annie giving her opening. I love how they just cut into the middle of the debate.
Yeah.
Like, it's Annie talking, giving her opening statement. And what she says is good, but it's pretty tense.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty, timid, like when people have to public speak. Allison Brie played that off pretty well.
Totally. She gets some applause, but then
from her
the
friends.
Real star of the show pops up. And by that, of course, Zach, I mean Jeremy Soul Patch Simmons.
Jeremy is a great one-episode character.
He truly is. He's a great antagonist.
He's so annoying. Mm-hmm. And the actor, I am not prepared to this extent. I wanted to look up the actor that played him, and I did not. But the actor who played him did a great job. And in the audio commentary, Dan mentioned that he is in like a popular sketch comedy group.
Oh.
And he didn't know what they were called either.
That sounds just about right.
Yeah, so they announced that now it's Jeremy's turn to talk after Annie meekly says her piece. And there's 12 people there for Greendale and 200 people there. It looks like the Greendale side of the bleachers is socially distancing, and then the City College side is all the people who still went on spring break anyway.
Yeah.
They're all super excited about Jeremy. Everyone's standing up and cheering and applauding. They said on the commentary too that Jeremy's supposed to be just that shitty kid who knew everything in high school and comes to college I'm the man. And just the type of person that would be so annoying to someone like Jeff.
Yeah.
And he totally is. They did that great.
They really did, because he's the anti-Jeff. He's...
Yeah.
Everybody likes him, and he likes himself. It's the double whammy.
So Jeremy comes up and gives his side of the debate, and he's so dramatic. And they're on the man is good side of things. And I love that they're on the man is good side of things, but Jeremy throughout the episode is terrible.
Absolutely.
This is when he mentions stuff like the average life expectancy is 23 years longer than a man alone. It's okay. That'll be fine.
I hate it.
He'd be the guy's guys, I don't know if you know who I am, but...
if you don't mind, could you guys,
You guys are interfering with dozens of listeners. No, it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll edit out. But I might have to leave a little bit in just so I can put that.
That's funny.
Jeremy has given his speech, and this is where he brings up the dean. He's like, man is good. He says, just 10 minutes ago, a bald, bespectacled man held the door for a man in a wheelchair. And the dean's reaction, first he's just oh, and looks at Whitman. And Jeremy keeps saying, man is good. and they applaud. And I love the dean like puts his hands on his chest like, oh, I hate this guy. Oh man. But he's smiling and like acting nice.
Right. I love like, because like we said, we don't get a ton of like Dean and Whitman, but they're there the whole time, which is nice.
And
like,
all their moments are golden.
Yeah, and all their like little subtle things they're doing in the background are so funny.
We really don't get the Dean being a main character until like season 3, 4, honestly. That's kind of how it is these first couple seasons. They do more with him and develop his character more, but they don't focus on him that much until season 3, I think.
Yeah.
Jeremy explains that he's going to use facts and data and numbers to prove to everyone that man is good, which kind of is going to counter what Jeff's approach is to do something like this. Before Jeff gets to go and rebuttal, there's a really bizarre Whitman line.
Little trick for achieving the proper competitive mindset. I always envision my opponent having aggressive sex with my mother.
Yeah, that was odd choice.
Jeff doesn't say anything or react or anything. He just like raises his eyebrows and like tilts his head and leaves that situation.
Yeah.
So now it's Jeff's turn to take the stage. Let's talk about this. Jeff does his lawyer shtick and tries to charm the audience, which I'm sure is what he did in the courtroom.
Yeah, he tried to winger speech it.
And it's so cringy.
Yeah.
The way he walks up to the woman judge and talks about like how hot she is and like who's noticed how hot you are. I don't know. He's loosely connecting it to the man is good, but he's really just hammy. This is cringy and bad.
Yeah, and you knew that's exactly what he did to jurors when he was, you know.
And it probably worked.
But it doesn't work when you're in community college coming at a judge in a debate competition.
At least this is written to be cringy and bad, you know?
Yeah.
He counters Jeremy as like using facts and numbers, and he's like, we're going to have more fun. I think we could express ourselves in song. And God, is it cringy when he's singing in falsetto in front of the whole audience. God, is it cringy.
Yeah, that is
The song that he's singing is a favorite of mine.
It's a good song.
It's a little ridiculous, but literally as soon as he starts singing, everyone in the audience is like clapping along. Like
they knew immediately.
They were so
I wonder
ready.
If he told them beforehand, like, you know, when he was like getting ready for his speech.
When you see the whole crowd, Pierce really stands out because he's just like got this really awkward smile, like trying to fit in while he's clapping.
Which I believe that probably was Chevy Chase trying to fit in and clap with the rest of the group.
Like, oh, everyone else is clapping. I guess.
It's like, oh, I love this song.
Jeff takes off his headset microphone and throws it on the ground. And we get the points for the round. City College with 50 and Greendale with 8. It's really nice to see Jeff fail.
Yeah.
And to be like, he's so surprised by it. He walks up to the judges and questions them on their ruling. I hate that. Lily and I were watching America's Got Talent last night, and it was a situation where the judges, like, those shows are rigged and whatever.
Yeah.
But there was like a contestant that the judges said no to. And then the contestants like kept like explaining to the judges why they were wrong and like why they're like, no, but we're good. It annoyed me so much. In what situation has anyone ever like changed someone's mind by saying something
I hate
like
that. I always hated it on American Idol. I hate it on So You Think You Can Dance. And on So You Think You Can Dance, it used to upset me because they used to what they used to do is they used to let them go to the choreography round and then they just cut them there. But like, it's not a good look.
Jeff didn't get what he wanted out of this, and Jeremy, he's just pawing at Jeff to try to make him mad, and he says something like,
Nice work, LA Law. All sizzle, no steak.
This is when the basketball team runs in. Them having to give up the gym because they didn't have it scheduled is funny. I think this joke could have been funny, but I don't think the visual is funny.
No, the only part of it that I laughed at was the great try, Bruce, great try.
Yeah, I liked that. And it makes sense that the Greendale basketball team would be awful, but it seems like they're implying that they can't play basketball because they're all gay.
I think it would have been much, much funnier if they were really good.
But that's one of my only qualms in a great episode.
I agree. Like I said before, I know you said it's not the popular take, but this is my favorite little string of episodes in season 1.
Oh, it's definitely a solid one because this is really where the show's finding itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on in the season, it's that string of episodes where they're like, now we can get weird with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. So they have to suspend the debate until tomorrow because the basketball team has it. And we cut after that to Jeff and Annie are leaving. Even the human being, like, scoffs at Jeff, and Jeff says, "Bite me," because Jeff has just let the school down so bad.
I like when he kicks the trash can, it's just so, like, dramatic.
Jeff is starting to get good and pissed now because Annie says, "Oh, you probably couldn't even beat him anyway." And that Jeff can't accept that, so he's like, now we're going to study harder and beat City College tomorrow. And Annie's face totally shows that she was kind of trying to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when Annie says, "Really?" Jeff has that, "Who am I, iCarly?"
Okay, question for you.
iCarly podcast, I'm so down. What?
In the iCarly era of Nickelodeon, did you watch much over there? Like, have you seen much iCarly?
I was young enough to still be interested and like iCarly when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was done watching Nickelodeon before it ended, but I think I came back to watch the last episode.
There was one specific episode that was kind of the jumping the shark one for me, and then after that it just sucked.
Yeah, which was that? We'll discuss it more on the iCarly podcast.
Yeah.
What would it be called?
Us, Zach, and Steven.
We'll workshop
Sam
it.
and Kat.
We'll workshop. Oh God, that one was bad.
That was really bad.
I did watch the first episode of that.
I like Victorious more than
What
iCarly.
was the jumping the shark?
They either did a magical soup or something like that, and it was really weird.
I don't think I was around for that one.
Or a voodoo, or not voodoo, or something happened, like a crystal ball, or it was really weird.
I was not here for that.
Yeah, and after that, the show just took a turn.
Huh.
Yeah. I like Jeanette McCurdy, though. Big fan.
Annie tries to drive home like, "You act like stuff doesn't bother you, but it does." And Jeff retorts with the super lame, like, "I used to be a lawyer, and now I'm at a stupid thing." That's where we get the Soul Patch Simmons. Just as he says Soul Patch Simmons, it summons him in the hallway. And I think this might be the cringiest moment of the entire episode when Simmons, sings the song as he's wheeling down the hallway. I think it's so cringy.
0 for winger! Kick that.
I do love the kick that, and his sidekick kicks it while making direct, angry eye contact with Jeff the whole time. Here's what I don't like.
Okay.
So in the songs that Simmons sings, how does he know that Jeff used to be a big shot lawyer? Now he's a loser. And how does he know little Annie Adderall had no friends in high school or whatever he says? How does he know that stuff?
Yeah, the Annie thing I could buy because he did his research on who he's going up against, because they've probably gone toe-to-toe before. But
I don't know. The Jeff one, I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch. Because
Jeff's a stretch for me because Jeff just joined the debate team the day before.
Yeah, and it's like a traveling debate. I'm sure they go to other debate teams every week. So I don't think they dig that deep into their opponent other than this as a sitcom.
Yeah, not in real life, no. But I think that if he's really that much of a star, because they knew Jeremy Simmons going in,
Yeah, and
but I think that the Jeff is a stretch. But I guess maybe I like this. I don't know. But when he sang the song, when they left in when he was trailing off on the loser, he kind of started laughing, and I'm guessing that was more so the actor laughing than the.
I feel like the actor would probably felt a little bit awkward having to. I'm sure it just is cringy.
Yeah.
And even Annie's line after it is kind of like, okay, now that that's done.
She comes in like it didn't even happen.
Yeah, they don't acknowledge it at all. After that little blurb, that's when we get the awesome Troy and Britta exchange. As they're walking to the study room, we cut to them.
I liked you better when you were smoking.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're right. My feet are long and stupid. You can't unring that bell.
As someone whose own mother used to make fun of his feet and say that he had monster feet because they were big. And, long and stupid feet is a real thing. And, that bell cannot be unrung, and that's pain that does not go away. So before you verbally attack a loved one's feet size, just think about what you're doing.
The more you know.
Do, do, do. Now sponsored by NBC. Was it NBC Go or NBC on the move? NBC Mobile.
Peacock. That's what it's called. Their new streaming service. Psych 2, starring Joel McHale. See it on Peacock. 2020.
I love Psych.
I haven't watched all of it, but I really enjoy what I've seen. I need to sit down and watch all of it.
It's great.
Troy is crying because of the stuff that Britta said, and Shirley, in the last couple episodes, they really haven't done her so well, where her thing is just to like be in a room when something happens so she can react to it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no, that's from the movie, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
Shirley,
a shame because they do such a good job in this episode with all the characters, but they really do use Shirley a lot as just, ooh, I saw this, and now I'm going to go say it in a different room.
Mm-hmm. Shirley confronts Abed and snatches his newspaper from him. I don't know. This part's kind of lame, I guess. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think it is lame. I think that they could have used it and made a really funny little joke at the end, but it never pays off, so I say lame.
Yeah, they could have used this whole Abed making movies about the study group a little bit better, I think. It's cute, but there are like 3 or 4 scenes of, Abed, what's wrong with you? You're a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader. Here's another thing that I've predicted. I don't know. They do it a couple too many times.
And I would have been fine with it if the werewolf thing finished off in a funny way. I think I would have been fine with it.
I don't know if they could have done that in a way that I would have not called bullshit on.
That's fair.
So Abed says, you know, all of this is just a coincidence that I'm actually predicting stuff. I'm just an entertainer, and if you don't believe me, look at what I'm making right now. And this is where we see his new film that is all stuff that seems like it would never happen, like what we've just been talking about, Shirley being chased by a werewolf. We also get Jeff and Annie kissing each other. Shirley's like, well, none of that stuff will ever happen, so I feel better now. And you just know that when they show that it's just setting up that this stuff is going to happen.
100%.
And the Jeff and Annie stuff happens, and it makes Shirley fear for her life that there's going to be a werewolf when she thinks it's so ridiculous. Maybe that's the payoff, that she's willing to believe that, oh no, now there is a werewolf after me. You know what I mean? They didn't go as far as showing it, but she actually feared for it because of the movies.
Yeah.
Now we cut to a scene that starts out kind of uneventful. That's Annie and Jeff in the study room getting ready for the second night of the debate. So Annie's telling Jeff that if you want to do better next time, you need to prepare. And Jeff starts calling out Annie and telling her that she needs to loosen up, which might be true, but I don't think he has any right to call her out right now after how badly he bombed the first time.
No, he doesn't at all, because he doesn't know anything about debate club or competition or stuff like that. Now,
Just
one thing that I will
mansplaining it.
say here in terms of Jeff that I actually was like, okay, maybe this is nice. I don't know if this was this intentionally thoughtful. It might be like supposed to be kind of the other way around. But he got his first ever stress headache here, which tells you 2 things, Zach.
He's invested.
Tells you that it tells you that he, first of all, never was this invested in being a lawyer or clearly wasn't invested in law school, but invested in this stuff, you know, as he is this. And I think that speaks well to his character, you know.
Man, I picked up on that conversation, but I did not think of it that way. That's thoughtful.
Yeah,
good on you, mate.
Good for, you know, I figure since I'm always shitting on Jeff, I might as well say it's one nice thing about him once.
Yeah, Jeff does some annoying stuff on this episode, but the writers are thoughtful on what they're doing with him, so it makes it a little more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
So now that Annie feels like she needs to loosen up, this is when we get our first, like, Annie's kind of sexy now, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy the difference that a hair clip made.
And taking off that cardigan.
Yeah. And here's what I will say.
Okay.
We've talked. I know.
Where's this going?
Let me get some good squeaks in here first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Squeak it.
Here's what I'll say. I think that we've talked about, you know, extensively how neither of us are a huge fan of most of the relationship stuff in this show.
Yeah, it's cute in this episode. Is that what you're going to say?
I don't mind it here. I don't think that it's bad. I mean, there's some tension between them that I like. I mean, now, is Annie ridiculous? Leaning over his shoulder like that, is that something realistic? Probably not. But, I mean, the tension's definitely there.
I agree with you. From when she puts her hair down, and you can just, like, you can see it in Jeff's face. And, I don't know, but Annie is pretty young.
Yeah, she is.
There's that really popular community meme of a line from a future episode where, I think it's the Jack Black episode, where it's like, Annie's pretty young. We try not to sexualize her.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it looks like Jeff is struggling to follow that rule that I think he's the one who set.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he knows that he's quite a bit older than her. And
then again, Shirley shows up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Say what you were going to say.
Okay. That he's quite a bit older than her, and it'd be a little inappropriate, you know, under most circumstances for them to be in a relationship, but they are, you know, peers in a college.
I think that's why it's good that the show never goes farther than oh, we're kind of attracted to each other. Maybe there's a chance we'll hook up. Maybe there's a chance that we'll like kiss a couple times. But I think for them to be in a relationship it would have to be unhealthy. It would have to be kind of wrong a little bit until later on in life. You know, maybe if they do more with the characters in the future, it would make more sense now that Annie's like 30.
Yeah, totally.
There's just another case of Shirley showing up just at the right time to react to something and leave. She opens the study door, says, Abed said you guys were going to kiss, closes the door and leaves. Hey, but Yvette Nicole Brown earning that series regular money.
Hey!
Yeah.
Do your thing.
It's awkward and a little bit cheesy, but they're like, what? Us kissing? Never.
What?
And then Jeff like intensely stares back at her after he says that.
Yeah. I like the tension in the scene. It's funny.
Yeah, it's almost like whenever you and I are in the same room.
I get it. The way I stare at you is the way Jeff stares.
We don't do the podcast from separate locations because of inability to be together. It's just that we would not get through much. We would.
Nope. I'd pat him on the head and have to leave.
Yeah, just pat me on the head. So they're like, we gotta get back to work. We can't focus on this. And it's such an awkward... The way that Annie puts the book in front of Jeff so she can stand behind Jeff and look over his shoulder to show off her cleavage.
Yeah.
You know, the way that they framed it, like that's... Why did she stand up in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, they're reading. Why couldn't he have just read? But the line where it's like...
Man is a collection of base animal urges. To act on them and experience sinful pleasure would be morally no different than taking a breath.
Just as Jeff, like, takes notice of the attractive young woman that's right next to his face.
Yeah, it definitely builds the tension.
They're like, maybe we should do this somewhere else, or, like, separately, alone. And Annie has that Freudian slip. She's like, maybe then that way we can be more productive.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. But good on Jeff being like, you know what? I should remove myself from this situation.
They're like, almost hug? Nope, probably shouldn't touch each other. Maybe hug again? No, probably not. Pat, pat, pat.
I really like the bit where Jeff like leaves and she's like, but your phone? He's like, oh, I can get another one.
We cut right to the other high sexual tension partner up of the episode, Pierce and Britta.
Oh.
Britta's lying on the couch again, and Pierce, she's already in fake asleep, and Pierce is going right back into the, when you see a cigarette, you'll think of stuff that disgusts you. And Pierce totally catches her with her eye half open. And so he decides to start playing around with her. Here's a fun fact that I think is super interesting. The shots that are just of Britta opening her eyes,
yeah, I
guess they didn't have the right shots for this scene when they filmed it. So they used shots from a previous day where Gillian was wearing a different shirt. And then in like post-production, they changed the color of her shirt.
Really? I didn't notice.
Yeah, and I even tried to look really hard at it, and I don't know if I can notice or not. It looks fine.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And
wow.
Pierce decides now he's going to mess with Britta since he knows what's up. I still don't like that his go-to is putting them in a sexual situation together.
No.
But I do like that the intent on Pierce's side is definitely that he's not really interested in Britta. He wants to know Britta's hot friend.
And he gives us that just such a great line.
And while you're under so deep, you'll find yourself attracted to slightly older men. Perhaps some barrel-chested stud with just enough tummy to love. You'll want to buy him dinner, then go back to his hot tub. Perhaps you'll invite one of your friends to join us for a three-way. Maybe someone with low self-esteem and slightly larger breasts.
That's what triggers Britta to be like, go to hell, you pig.
It's nice to see... I don't know. It's just a funny scene.
I don't know if Pierce is totally valid in turning this around on Britta doing something wrong towards Pierce. I get how dare you pity me? I may be a little bit older, but I don't know. What he said just then was annoying.
Yeah, and Britta was trying to be nice.
Yeah. Now, Britta could have just been like, hey, man, that didn't work. Sorry, work on it some more.
Yeah. Go back to the drawing board.
I love that Pierce is trying to describe himself in, like, the way that Britta belittles him, but all you can come up with is, I'm slightly older, my ideas seem weird, and my fashion sense may cause envy.
I just love, like, every time Pierce like has like a little something like that should be a jab, he always slips in one little part of just how he sees himself as like the popular guy.
And then he's like, but I will not allow myself to be pitied. And then he turns around and falls right back into the drum set and like really slowly. If you watch it, you can really tell that it's Chevy trying to do like a fall without really falling. But it's also kind of fun to watch Pierce just like crumble like one fraction at a time.
It really is.
And he's like, do not help me up.
Do not.
Now we're back to the debate stage, and Jeremy is taking off his glasses with a tear in his eye. So you know that stuff's going down.
That's where we get that quote from, I don't remember who, but where he says that...
Snow falls from the heavens pure. We cannot blame the snow for being soiled by the earth.
Something that this is a little off, but it has to do with Jeremy. They were gonna bring Jeremy back. And I guess there were some things in this episode that got cut that kind of applied that Annie was attracted to him.
Oh.
And that maybe they would bring him back as a love interest for her in the future. But then as the episode kind of became more about the Jeff and Annie chemistry, they decided to tone it down a little bit.
Which I'm okay with who. Like, I like Vaughn, so I'm okay with what they did with that later on, but...
I would have been interested to see Jeremy come back and interact with the characters in another setting.
Right? I could see him hitting on Britta, even though he's with Annie, you know, just because he's a baller like that.
Yeah.
It's in his mind.
Jeremy delivers a speech, and the crowd is silent. The other people on his panel are crying. The judges are crying. Troy is crying. It's like, that dude gets it. And Whitman introduces Jeff. Now it's his turn to really show if he's got it or not. And he does a pretty good job.
He does. Jeff comes in strong.
Yeah, it's genuine, and you can tell that he read and did his studying and really thought about what he was going to say. He brings up the Stanford Prison Experiment, which is always something I've been deeply interested in.
Yeah, I actually, with all this stuff going on, I've had some conversations about this myself.
I had a conversation with my mother today and used the Stanford Prison Experiment as an example.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think it led to a good conversation.
That's good.
And it's totally true. This is something that is coming up in conversation a lot today, that when people are given power, just normal people given power, that'll go to their head and they'll abuse it, and they'll abuse others. And who can say that any of us wouldn't do that unless we're put in that position or put ourselves in that position?
And I think a part of the experiment that a lot of people don't talk about that is always fascinating to me as well, and that I think is equally important, is that when somebody who has been abused by someone in power then gets put in that power, they're very likely to do the exact same thing.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be something to say in that specific experiment about the people who were designated as prisoners, like submitting to what they were being told to do by the other civilians. I think there's something about that too.
Absolutely, there is.
That's not really the point of this episode, but it was food for thought.
And I think that it's an important thing to educate yourself on. If you've never heard of the experiment, look it up. It's a good part of psychological history.
There's a great film adaptation of it with Ezra Miller.
Yes. That
is also a good way to familiarize yourself with it. That was based on the like direct manuscripts and like videos of when it happened. So it's I'm sure it's Hollywood changed a little bit, but they tried to keep it really accurate to what happened.
I heard it was pretty well done. I haven't seen it myself yet, but it's definitely on my list to watch.
It's really good. Jeff's rebuttal saying that, because again, Jeremy is arguing that people are good, and Jeff is arguing that they are not, and he uses a Jesus quote to explain that, which is a good move to take someone who's universal for peace and pacifism, and a quote from him saying that there's like not a single good person.
It was good, and he managed to do a Winger speech-esque thing, but it wasn't as much BS behind it, you know? He actually did the work.
He's talented at speaking. It's not that. It's just that like his heart's not typically in it.
Yeah.
When he brings up Jesus' name, everyone's like face shifts. Like Jeremy's like, "Oh, we brought it." And Shirley can't help but stand up and say, "That's nice." Another interesting fun fact from the commentary, I guess the time that they had to spend in this gym where they filmed was limited.
Well, yeah, the basketball team had to practice.
And one of the nights, I think Joel had to leave because he had to go film the soup. And I think there was even a night they mentioned something about like there being like a lockdown or something, and they had to be stuck in the gym for a little bit, but they had like a lot of work to do, so it was fine. And all that to be said, they didn't get everything they needed done. So in this montage, the shots that are really close-ups of their face were filmed somewhere else.
Oh, really? They do a good job.
They said on the commentary that they had to stand, they were like up in the air, like on top of like a ladder or something, and there was like a backdrop of where they were at to get the perspective right.
Wow.
And yeah, it does look good.
That's some good like special effects and editing in this episode.
It's just each of them repeating like single buzzwords on their side of the argument as they go back and forth. One of them that doesn't date very well is Jeremy on the people are good side. He brings up Apu from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And since this time, Apu on The Simpsons is not thought of so kindly.
Well, what was it, the problem with Apu? When did that come out? I guess I had forgotten that was
probably
like after this episode.
2017, 2018, yeah.
Wow, I forgot that was that.
Only a few years ago.
Recent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And Apu's not on The Simpsons anymore.
Now, I know you're much more well-versed and much bigger Simpsons fan than I am.
Yeah.
We can save that talk for another day if you want, but do you have anything you want to say about Apu? What are your thoughts on whether you think he should be in the show or not? I mean...
I think the problem isn't like the character and how he's portrayed. I think... preface anything I say that I'm a white person and my opinion is just... I don't know. I have thoughts about a TV show that I like.
Yeah.
I am no expert on race relations or what is and isn't racist. But I don't think the way Apu's portrayed on the show is bad. He's mentioned a lot of times as being like the most eligible bachelor in Springfield.
Yeah.
And he's like one of the hardest workers and people all like him. The issue is that it's a white man doing a almost parody Indian accent.
Exactly. Yeah. And he owns like a convenience store and which I see there's issues there, but I think he's not he's not painted as a bad guy, but the issue is the accent. And
I don't think what they do is ill-intended at all, of course, but I think there are kids who grow up and they see that caricature of an Indian person, and so when they see an Indian person, they're like, oh, it's Apu from The Simpsons. And
absolutely.
Like, think of that voice. And, so that's the issue. Anyway, they're all shouting off these buzzwords as the debate is going. It's really hard to tell who exactly is winning or what they're really talking about.
Yeah.
I do not like the Pierce line where it cuts to him and Shirley, and he's like, oh, this is a real barn burner. Wait, did I say cross burner?
Really? I laughed hard at that the first time.
Okay, that's good. I think it's funny, kind of. But it just shows that, like, Pierce didn't say that, but he was clearly thinking it.
He was thinking it, and the reason I laughed is because, like, we know that Pierce is, an old racist guy, like, at the end of the day. I mean, like, Pierce can be funny, but...
I think it comes down more to it that Pierce is really aware that he's next to a black woman, and like in his head the whole time they're talking is like, don't say that, don't say that, don't say burning cross. He's like, oh, did I say it? I think it's like how the Dean's brand of racism kind of is. It's he's trying to be considerate but really failing
and
at
it's making it worse.
We cut to Jeff and Annie, who are talking about how great they are together. Professor Whitman runs back up and delivers a line about Jeff reminding him of himself with slightly worse hair, which I'm not going to really blow it up because I would love nothing more than Joel McHale to come on our show one day, but Joel McHale hair plugs.
Yeah, John Michael Higgins has much better hair.
The Dean comes up to them and he's so ecstatic and he's like, you guys are so far ahead. Simmons will have to do something crazy to turn this around. Britta can't handle it, i.e. she needs to go have a smoke. Simmons is getting ready for his final push to win this debate, and he tears up his notes real dramatically, and everyone takes notice of it. I love how dramatic they make this.
I love how everyone's like, oh, he's going off
so
book.
invested in it, like what's going to happen next.
And Abed immediately is like, it's a gambit.
Yeah. This shot of Jeremy flinging himself out of his wheelchair and soaring across the entire stage is so ridiculous and unrealistic. But the way they have it shot, it looks great.
Yeah, every time it happens, I really wish that
it takes him so long.
Yeah, like it pays off. But I really wish that Jeff just wouldn't have caught him. Like, but it's such a good move by Simmons, though.
Yeah, it is a great move, and of course he catches him, just like how the Dean opened the door for him. But Annie,
hey, game recognized game. Amy steps up with an even...
Well, not yet. We gotta give to the, Jeremy has that great point of...
He hates me! yet he caught me. Man is good.
And I do tend to think that that's a good point.
It is.
I don't know, if you see your fellow man struggling in a small way and there's something that you can do for them, whether it's like, oh yeah, man, I've got some jumper cables, or like, oh yeah, man, I've got $1 since you don't have enough money for whatever you're, you know, like just stepping up and doing that for people.
Yeah.
But not to say that people are good universally. Anyway, so Jeff is holding Jeremy, and it looks like all things are lost, because how can he argue that man is evil after he's saved the person that he's trying to like tear down?
Yeah.
Know? We cut to everyone in the audience reacting, and Britta just like really stressed out, pulling a cigarette. And Annie has the great idea. This is a little cheesy, and I'll get to why in a second, but she comes up to Jeff and just plants one on him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff gets so invested into it that he drops Jeremy on the ground. Meanwhile, Shirley is tapping Abed on the shoulder like, your movie's happening.
Yeah.
I don't think Jeff would be so unaware of his surroundings that he would drop the dude. I think he would. You know what I mean?
You don't?
I think that's a little bit romanticized. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
for sure. But I do think, though, that Jeff would definitely be caught very off guard.
Yeah, and it's an incredible way to, where I'm not giving enough credit to how great this episode is, to where after that moment with Jeremy, there's no way you think that Jeff and Annie would be able to beat that, and they do. And Annie thinks of it on the fly, just how she needed to be like loosey-goosey and stuff.
Yeah.
The best comes out of both Jeff and Annie when they were able to work together and bring the best out of each other. And I'm not a shipper, but I totally get why this episode would make people feel that way.
Absolutely. I think that it's like, you know, we got a little bit of a hint of it with the football episode and, you know, a couple other things with them working together, but this is like the big time, like, okay, they actually have some real, like, not just chemistry, but actual, like, tension.
Yeah, and we've seen, like, oh, these people might be kind of attracted to each other, but this is the first time we see, like, oh, these people work well together and play well off of each other and bring out good qualities in each other.
Whereas I don't ever feel that about Jeff and Britta, personally.
I don't know why I feel more partial to Jeff and Britta, because I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's crazy.
I know later in the season we'll get deeper into the Jeff and Britta stuff, because later in the first season is when that actually happens. But definitely this episode, as much as I think it's annoying when people ship people on the show, I've been more invested in Jeff and Annie in this episode than I have with him and Britta or him and Slater or anyone in previous episodes.
Totally.
But I'm still not like, these characters need to get together.
Yeah, it's nice for an episode or two, you know?
So everyone kind of accepts what's going on. Jeremy, like, is on the floor, like, defeated. I love Shirley's knowing nod, like, reacting to, like, yep, men are horny, and they're gonna follow that instead of being good, and men are evil, because Shirley has definitely lived that.
Yeah, she has.
Knows it. Greendale won the debate. They did it. They beat City College. They're all really excited. The moment feels earned. Everyone's high-fiving. Britta all of a sudden can't smoke her cigarette, which we'll get to in a little bit because of what she's thinking now. There's a great song playing in the background called Home that I've always enjoyed.
Yeah, I like that song too. It's enjoyable.
It's just a great moment. And now we cut to people leaving. And on the audio commentary, they say that, like, this was something that, a line that's delivered was an inside joke for the cast members here. Where they're all talking about, like, it's Abed, Shirley, and Troy, and they're saying, wow, that was great. Simmons was crazy. And Shirley just goes, I'm gonna die by werewolf. I guess, like, everybody in the cast would say that all the time. I'm gonna die by werewolf. The way she says that.
That makes sense.
The way she delivers that line. So then Abed, it's really great how everything comes together in this little scene. Abed brings up, once again, you know, no, I'm not a mind reader. In my next one, we all agree Pierce is a genius. And Shirley's like, that's never gonna happen, and feels better. This is all done in one shot, which is really impressive. Pierce and Britta talking about how, you know, Britta can't smoke anymore because it makes her think of a three-way with Pierce in the hot tub, and calls him a genius. I love that, you know, Britta calls him a genius, and it's like, it worked, and the only thing Pierce cares about is who's the third.
Well, and that's what's so great is Pierce, like, could care less about actually her smoking or not. He was like, oh, it'd be cool to do hypnotherapy. Then he was like, oh, who are you picturing us with? It's very great.
I have a theory that I just came up with.
Let's hear it.
Just right this second. So Pierce and Britta are leaving and they talk about a three-way.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that happens, Abed's standing in the hallway and he hears what they're talking about and that his prediction once again came true. And as that happens, the human being, the dean, and Professor Whitman come out of the gymnasium, and I think that's the three-way. I think there's a joke there that as soon as they mention a three-way, they come out.
Listen, it's probably not unintentional.
Professor Whitman says, let's take this bacchanalia outside.
What? I don't know what that means.
It's like, let's take this party outside.
Yeah.
Let's take this, hedonism, pleasure seeking.
Okay.
Let's take this rowdy party outside. And then he looks right at Abed and says, full moon tonight.
Oh,
which makes Abed think of Shirley and the werewolf.
Yeah.
But I think that adds to my theory that he's like, things are going to get crazy tonight.
Yeah, they're planning on getting real rowdy,
and
it
the
seems.
dean, human being, and Professor Whitman, are going to have some fun together. So now we're back to Jeff and Annie, and they're having another, congratulation of each other. It's really awkward. They don't really know what to say to each other. If they should, touch each other or hug or, go get a room or something, And they're both like, thanks, pal. Thanks, buddy. And this time they go to hug and it doesn't work. And Annie just says, just pat me.
Just pat me.
Even more funny is the way they just, after he pats her on the head, they just turn on a dime.
I know, they zoom away, which was very
as sober
cartoonish
as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the end of the episode, other than this end tag, which we touched on a little bit already, of fake Troy and Abed doing the Spanish rap.
And I think it's hilarious.
Watching them recreate the Spanish rap doesn't really do a ton for me. Although I do like that the person who's playing Troy is intentionally offbeat, not quite doing it the way Troy does it. The funny bit in this all comes from Troy and Abed as directors.
Totally.
And especially how serious Troy's taking it.
Cut. Let me ask a question. Do you hate this? Do you hate doing this? Do you? Let me talk to you. Can I talk to you for a second? Just hold on.
Brings Abed over to talk about it. Troy, after they have their huddle, he does the circle in the air that's universal for all right, one more time. And he just looks so tired. That's when we get that Abed, just have fun with it.
Right, you can tell Abed's all right, I gotta save this, I'm the director.
And that is where this episode ends.
Yeah, good one, really enjoyed it.
I feel like we might have, I don't know, I feel like we said a couple of negatives or harped on a couple of things, but it's really just stretching for small nitpicks in an episode that's pretty near flawless. This is a pretty great, if you want to know what Community's like, this would be a good first episode, perhaps.
I think so, too. It's a pretty good one to show.
If you want to show a more grounded episode rather than one of the really off-the-wall homage episodes, I think this would be great.
I agree. It's definitely going into my list of ones that if anyone asks for a first episode to watch.
So... MVP. It's a tough week for MVP.
Yeah, who have you got, Zach, this week? I'm curious.
I've gone back and forth.
Uh-huh.
And I have a person that I could kind of go with for story reasons and a person that I could kind of go with for joke reasons.
All right.
And I guess
pick one.
I'm going to yeah, of course. I'm just going to pick one. And I'm going to go with joke reasons because even though I love Community's heart, the reason I love it most is because it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And the person who made me laugh terribly this week was Troy.
Nice.
Everything he said was so funny. He didn't have very much to do in the plot, but everything he said was hilarious. And a lot of it, I think, is how great of an improviser Donald Glover is.
Yeah, I think I agree wholeheartedly. I think Troy was great this week, and he was almost my pick. I kind of went back and forth a little bit, too, but I
wonder if you're going to pick my second choice.
I'm landing on Pierce this week.
Oh, okay. Not mine at all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think Pierce had a lot of... I probably laughed the most at his jokes this week for me. I mean, I laughed at all Troy's, of course, but I laughed the hardest at some Pierce stuff. And I think that he accomplished his goal, right? He was a genius at the end, He got Britta to quit smoking.
You're right.
So
you're right.
Good on Pierce.
Yeah. Throughout these episodes, it's kind of like different pairings of the character every time. And Pierce and Britta is one that does surprisingly work out pretty well.
Yeah, I like it.
So yeah, that's this week's episode.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening and watching, if those of you were watching on YouTube.
I want to look really quick ahead. I want to see what next week is.
It's, can't remember what it's called.
We're not quite to it yet, but we're getting close to the Jack Black episode.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
I think that might be like episode 12. That's one of my favorites of the first season.
Nice.
Next week's Environmental Science.
Yeah,
it's
I like
one
this
of the episodes that we got to do together by ourselves as a part of that rewatch.
Oh yeah.
So we've had a practice run a little bit.
We have.
That's Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a Chang-heavy episode. Chang didn't appear in this episode at all.
No, we're due for some good Changing.
Oh, man, just to think ahead, we are in a good stretch. I think the next couple episodes are better than the last couple. The next one is the environmental science, which is probably the lesser of the next couple. But then we've got the politics of human sexuality, which is great.
Yep.
Then we've got comparative religion, which is great.
Really good.
Then we've got investigative journalism, the Jack Black episode, which is great. Yeah, this is a great stretch.
Yeah,
I'm excited. This is just a great show. Steven, tell the people where they can find us.
You can find us on Facebook. Like us on Facebook and on YouTube at You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. And we're also on Instagram and Twitter, Zach.
Yeah, we sure are, buddy. Instagram, Can't Disappoint Podcast, and Twitter at You Can't Disapod. We have a lot of fun over there, so come talk with us. Thanks for listening. If you want to converse with us, email us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being cool.
Don't forget to wear your masks when you go out in public. Don't forget to wear your masks when you go out in public. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay informed, everybody.
And remember, plandemic, people. Plandemic.
Bear down for midterms.
From inside the Dreamatorium, this is Zach.
And this is Mickey Mouse reminding you to arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor.
No, don't do the same thing again. Don't do this.
And this is Steven signing off for You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Let's try that again.
Or we could leave it in because it needs to be said constantly until it happens.
Of course it needs to be said. My problem was not that. My problem is
the Mickey Mouse.
I think, Mickey is taking over the show a little too much.
I think that Mickey's not in the show enough.
Whatever, now this whole ending is botched.
I know.
Let's
say
the outro again, but you can say what you said again.
Okay.
From inside the Dreamatorium, signing off, this is Zach.
And this is Steven saying goodbye. Also, reminding everyone to arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Have a great rest of your day.
Very serious. Let's not forget these things. And thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Nothing please me more than you. Oh, let me go home.